Hi, I am Connie Houlihan, and I am a mental fitness champion. A champion for who, you might ask? Well, hopefully for you. Today, we're going to talk about how to grow the three core mental muscles to thrive in challenging times. So, you may have heard of mental wellness before, or even mental health. We're going to talk about mental fitness. So, let's start with a definition. The definition of mental fitness is the capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than a negative mindset. So just picture what that might look like. That could impact so many areas of your life. Mostly, we're hardwired to respond from our brainstem, right? Which is this where the negative mindset originates. Typically, we're not responding from a positive mindset right away. Well, the great news is that that's a possibility and it's been proven. So, what would the impact be if you could respond to life's challenges with a positive mindset? Let's think about that for a minute. It could impact your performance, giving you access to peak performance in any area of life that's important to you, which could be in athletic performance, as well as if you own your own business, your business performance, or if you work with someone else, your job performance. Any area, literally, this will produce peak performance in. Where else could it impact having this positive mindset? Well, it will lead to peace of mind and wellness during these crazy times the last few years. Who could not use more peace of mind? It also impacts healthy relationships. And that includes a healthy relationship with yourself, as well as your loved ones, your friends, coworkers, literally everyone. So we have a program we call PQ, and it's based on breakthrough original research by Shirzad Sharmin, and you're going to love him. And it's really the synthesis of recent discoveries across four core areas: positive psychology, performance science, neuroscience, and cognitive behavioral psychology. We call all of that together positive intelligence. So, our research from Stanford and Harvard, by the way, includes results from hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, Stanford students, world class athletes, including Olympic athletes. We had over 500,000 participants from 50 countries. This research is summarized in the New York Times bestselling book, Positive Intelligence, which has been translated into 20 languages. That's right, 20 languages. So, the power of factor analysis. They use factor analysis for the methodology for this research. So, what is factor analysis? Well, factor analysis discovers the root cause of something. It results in radical simplification. So, it's not so crazy difficult. So, let me give you an example. So, we know there are literally thousands of colors, and at the root of all these thousands of colors are only three factors: red, yellow, and blue. So the results of the factor analysis research on positive intelligence is that there's only three core muscles at the root of mental fitness. They are the saboteur interceptor, which is the ability to intercept that saboteur voice. It originates in the brainstem. Sometimes we call it the itty bitty shitty committee. It's that voice that tells you you can't do it. You're not enough. I'll do it later. I'm not going to do this. It's not, I'm too afraid to do this. It's all of those negative voices inside your head. So, one of the core muscles is this saboteur interceptor. We're going to intercept that saboteur voice. Another one of the core muscles is our sage muscle, which is our wisdom part of our brain. and self-command. I also like to talk about that in the world of like self-control. You guys know what that is. So it's having the ability to not only recognize the saboteur, shift to sage, and have the discipline to do it. So there are 10 saboteurs in the program that you're going to learn about and be able to intercept, and 5 sage powers. Again, we're looking at the saboteur interceptor muscle, the sage muscle, and the self-command muscle. We start with the judge because everyone has a pretty loud judge. We are continually judging ourselves, judging others, and certainly judging our circumstances. There are 9 other saboteurs, and there's a saboteur assessment. And at the end of our presentation, I will share with you the website where you could go and do a complimentary assessment so you could find out what your saboteur is. So here's some of the saboteurs. We all have some of these. There's controller, hyperachiever, restless, stickler, pleaser, hypervigilant, avoider, victim, oh, woe is me, and hyper rationale. Just by listening to the titles of these, you might already start to have an inkling of some of those saboteur voices that might be in your head. So you'll get an email with the results. So remember that, and then you'll also be able to see what the descriptions of are of each saboteur and notice the ones that speak to you. So remember, no one fits any saboteur description completely. We're looking for the general patterns. So for example, stickler, that happens to be one of my top saboteurs. And when it's out of balance, it doesn't serve me. And when it's in balance, it can actually help. So it's differentiating where it's in balance and out of balance. So a stickler, for example, is perfectionism and a need for order and organization just taken too far. I'm someone who likes to have their T's crossed and their I's dotted. So you can see some characteristics and thoughts that are common with sticklers. So where are these voices located? I thought all the voices in my head came from the same place, and they don't. The saboteurs are located in the brainstem. That's our fight or flight, right? That's the oldest part of our brain, the reptilian brain. And it's there and it's designed to protect us, except it doesn't always protect us because we're no longer being chased by saber-toothed tigers. And sometimes our brain reacts like it is. Wouldn't you like to have access so that that's not what's controlling you, but rather the sage part of your brain is controlling you, not controlling, contributing to you? So the saboteurs are located in the brainstem, the limbic system, and parts of the left side of your brain. Whereas the sage muscles are in the prefrontal cortex, the empathy circuitry that's in our brain, and parts of our right brain. Our saboteurs can motivate you through negative emotions, whereas the sage part of our brain motivates you through positive emotions. So this is how you could tell if you're in fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, insecurity, just to name a few. You're operating from the saboteur perspective. However, if you're operating from empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, and purpose, you know you are in the sage perspective using your sage powers. Our saboteurs might be able to generate success, but not happiness. My stickler, I was able to produce some success with my stickler saboteur, and it was never enough. While the sage muscles helps me generate your highest success and sustained happiness, even unconditional happiness. So here's the question. Are negative emotions good for you? Well, here's the question. The next question, is pain good for you? I don't want to keep my hand on that hot stove for very long. So those negative emotions are really only helpful for about 1 second, just to alert you like something's wrong. So staying in that negative emotion for a long period of time, over really a second, hurts of your ability to see clearly and respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, or laser focused action. So that negative emotion really is coming from the saboteur. So again, we're looking at those three core muscles: saboteur, interceptor, sage, and self-command. So let's talk about the sage. It lives in the region of the brain associated with positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed focus, creativity, the big picture, and operates from the sage perspective. So you might be asking, well, what is the sage perspective? The sage perspective is that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. Now, I know you may be thinking, well, there's some circumstances that I've been through that I don't know where the gift or opportunity is. And those take a black belt in this technology, which you will have access to. And I know from personal experience, my 18-year-old son passed almost 3 years ago from a massive heart attack, very unexpectedly out of nowhere. And the medical exam came back, they don't know why. That was the hardest circumstance I have ever had to deal with. And I'm telling you, this program made a difference so that I was able to see the opportunity of having my son in heaven versus with me. Now, I will tell you, every moment I wish my son was here. And I'm now able to see the blessing of having him. He's always with me now. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. So some opportunities are a little more challenging than others. And by developing those neural pathways in our program and using it over time, you can literally turn any and every outcome or circumstance into a gift and opportunity. Can you imagine what kind of peace and freedom is available by developing the sage perspective in your life? So I'm going to tell you a story. I need to get my readers out for this. So this is the stallion story. Some of you may have heard it before. An old farmer lives on his farm with his teenage son. He also has a beautiful stallion that he lovingly cares for. The farmer enters his stallion into the annual county fair competition, and his stallion wins first prize. The farmer's neighbors gather to congratulate him on this great win. He calmly says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" Puzzled by this reaction, the neighbors go away. Well, the very next week, some thieves who heard about the stallion's increased value steal the horse. When the neighbors come to commiserate with the farmer, they find him again very calm and said, "Well, who knows what is good and what is bad?" This confused the neighbors. Several days later, the spirited stallion escapes from the thieves and finds his way back to the farm, bringing with him a few wild mares that he has befriended along the way. To his neighbors' excited rounds of congratulations, the old farmer once again says, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" A few weeks later, the farmer's son is thrown off one of these new mares as he's trying to break it in, and his son's leg is fractured. As the neighbors gather to commiserate with the old farmer, he once again reminds them, "Who knows what is good and what is bad?" The following week, the Imperial Army marches through the village, gathering all eligible young men for the war that has just broken out. The farmer's son is spared due to his fractured leg. By now, the neighbors no longer bother come to the old farmer to congratulate him. By now, they know what his response will be. Who knows what is good and what is bad? So here's the question: which perspective is true? Is it the farmer's perspective or the neighbor's perspective? Here's the great thing. So the saboteurs say this is bad. That's what the neighbors were saying. The sage The farmer would say this is a gift. So here's the real answer. Whichever you believe comes true, we know what we focus on expands. Again, we're looking at 3 core muscles, the saboteur interceptor, the sage, and self-command. So how does this happen, you might ask? Well, it happens with an app that comes with the program, and it's a series of just 10-second PQ reps. So you might be asking, what is a PQ rep? So they're in the gym part of the app that you'll have access to in the program. And what Shirzad says is that a PQ rep is exquisite attention to a sensory experience. So sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. And don't worry, he will walk you through all of the PQ reps until you could learn to do them on your own. So the simplicity of our operating system, number 1, if you're feeling negative emotions, simply stop. You're in saboteur mode. And that self-command muscle helped you recognize it. Number 2, do some PQ reps that will quiet the saboteurs and activate the sage. 3, assume the sage perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift and opportunity. 4, generate the gift by using the sage powers like empathy, curiosity, creativity, and calm, clear-headed action. So here's our question. Is it really possible to just shift from saboteur to the sage response, even in tough challenges? So here's the answer. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, even in the most difficult circumstances. And the speed and the depth of the shift depends on that mental muscle strength. This program literally sends rewiring new neural pathways into the brain from the brainstem into the sage part of the brain. So you're literally rewiring your brain to get to the sage perspective. It's all about the mental muscle that you develop, and it's a neural pathway. So most programs rely on insight. So you might have had some insights just from today. However, long-lasting positive change, insight's only about 20% of it. 80% is that mental muscle that you get to develop. It is the new neural pathways that will be developed during this program. So success requires intense initial practice. So what does that look like? It's only 15 minutes a day for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on what program you enroll in. So this is my gift to you, the Positive Intelligence Program. I do a 7-week program because there's a bonus week I include for you. You'll be watching a 1-hour weekly video that gets released on the app over on a Saturday morning, and you have until Monday to watch that 1-hour video, and it's broken down in segments. It's super easy to watch. Then it requires 15 minutes a day of practice on the app. You'll have access to the app for 1 full year. You'll read 8 chapters of the Positive Intelligence book, which you'll receive as a PDF, or you could listen to the audio version on the app if that's a preference to you. Some people like audiobooks, some people like to read. There are 6 60-minute Zoom meetings and a bonus session. For sales teams, I will tell you, if there's a group of sales teams of 10 or more, I add an 8th session specifically designed to apply this technology to sales. And boy, talk about peak performance. So, as I mentioned earlier, you get 1-year access to the Positive Intelligence app. Typically, we charge $1,495. So I have a savings code of $500 off when using the code Own Your Life when you message me. So the final price is only $995. If you go directly to the app to buy the app, it's $995, and it does not include any coaching whatsoever. So for the same price that you could get the app, I include 7 to 8 hours of coaching. So the program details are on my website at conniehoulihan.com. To save your spot, text me your name and email address at 636-393-8527 or reach out to me through my website, conniehoulihan.com. Also, my invitation is go to positiveintelligence.com/assessment and then email me your results, conniehoulihan@gmail.com. You're going to love the positiveintelligence.com website. You'll also find our white papers there from Harvard and Stanford, as well as a lot of other great statistics. This is a scientifically, clinically proven program. The PQ pods are available on Mondays at noon or 7 p.m. If you have a group that would like to do a different time on Monday, reach out to me and we can work something out. So you need to participate with at least one other accountability partner. The pod sizes are 2 to 12 people. For some groups, we can accommodate up to 25. Typically, they're 2 to 12. So it was so great sharing this information with you. I will tell you, this information has dramatically shifted my personal life as well as my business life. I look forward to talking with you soon, and thank you for your time.